Hello, and welcome to Everlasting Summer. That does not say Everlasting Summer. I know this was originally a very Russian game. So this is a visual novel. It's not a Japanese visual novel, apparently, which is really interesting. Okay, so the main reasons I wanted to play this is because 1, it's free, 2, I've never played it before, 3, it's supposed to be very good according to the reviews I saw on Steam, and it's not supposed to be very long. It's supposed to be 5-6 hours. I wanted a little short thing to do because there's a few games coming up that I want to play soon, and hopefully I can finish this around the same time as I get to those, so I'll only have 2 games going on at once because that's my general preference at any given time. So, another thing I was thinking was, if you want to, of course, only if you want to, since this is free to play and it's available on both PC and Mac, if you want and you never played it before, like myself, you could play along with me, and I thought that would be a cool little thing to add on to this relatively short game. That's supposed to be very good at the same time. I know there's supposed to be like over a dozen endings, and I don't really know what sort of endings. It might be character-based, it might be something else based, might be bad ends, good ends, true ends, I don't know. That's something if I really like the game after one playthrough, I'll be more likely to go back and look up and see what was happening. Otherwise, this is like, the first thing that popped up was like Soviet games and stuff like that, which is a really interesting thing because this is supposed to be a very different setting than basically any Japanese visual novel out there that I've seen. So let's see what we got here. Gallery, photography club. Okay, that's weird. Exit. I assume that's leave the game. Yeah, I've quit the game before. This is that's the same thing, and that's a bit weird. Treat the history of our camp with care, thoroughly write down your observations, save. Okay. I feel as though that's fine. And new game. I was having that dream once again. That dream. Same thing every night. But it's all forgotten in the morning, as usual. Maybe it's for the best. Only a glimpse of memory will remain, of gates half open, as if inviting me somewhere, with 2 frozen stone pioneers standing close by. And also that strange girl, who keeps asking me. Will you come with me? Come? But where? And why? Where am I anyways? Of course, if it all happened in real life, I would certainly have been scared. Well, what else could one expect to feel? But this is just a dream, the same one I see every night. There must be a reason. You don't have to know where or why to realize something is really happening. Something desperately seeking my attention. Since everything that surrounds me here is real. As real as the things in my own flat, I could open the gates, hear the hinges creak, brush the crumbling rust away from my hand, inhale the fresh, cool air and shiver from the cold. I could, but to do that I would need to pick myself up, take a step, move my hand. But this is a dream, I understand that. But what of it? What does my understanding change? Because here, it's just like the other side of the cracked screen of an old TV, which struggles to fight against static noise and strives to show its audience everything without missing a single detail. But the picture is getting blurry. I must be waking up soon. Maybe I should ask her something. The girl. What's her name? About the stars, for instance. Why the stars, though? I'd rather ask about the gates. Yes, the gates. She'd be so surprised, or better, y dot over an I was called a titty, but the dot was over a J called a superscript, what? What? Sorry. Nice letters. As if they don't exist anymore. Still, what do letters, gates, and stars have to do with this place? Because even if I'm having this dream every night, which will be forgotten soon anyways, I've got to look for answers here and now. And there, if you look carefully, you can see the Magellanic Clouds. As if I ended up in the southern hemisphere. In a dream, there are small things that catch your attention: on the natural color of the grass, impossible curves of straight lines, or your own distorted reflection, while the real danger, which could put an end to everything right here and now, seems trivial. It's natural, since here you cannot die. I know it for sure. I've done it 100 times. But if you can't die, is there a point in living? I should ask the girl. She's a local. She should know. Yeah, that makes sense. Yes, exactly. I should ask her about the owl, for example. One strange bird it is, though it doesn't matter. Will you come with me? And every time I have to answer. It's the only way, otherwise the dream will never end, and I will never wake up. Oh. I don't know. I don't really have much context. This has been like really trippy so far, I guess. So he's having I see the owl now. Oh, it opens its eyes every little while. Oh, okay. Let's just go out. Oh, wait. Is this the letters he was talking about? Oh, I really can't see them clearly. Okay, clearly it wasn't these, because they were talking about an I and a J, but okay. So, I don't know. Let's go out on a limb and say, yes, I'll come with you. Every time it's so hard to decide on the answer. Where am I? What am I doing here? Who is she? Why does so much of my life depend on this answer? Or maybe it doesn't. It's just a dream, after all. Just a dream. Oh, hey, keyboard. That's a very, English keyboard you got going there, too. Am I just waking up from the dream or something? Is that 4chan? Maybe. Hard to tell. But, oh shoot, I forget what it was called, but whatever the hell, I recognize that girl. Some old kid's show. The computer screen stared at me as if it was alive. And I closed my eyes, and opened them again. Sometimes, it really did seem as though it was conscious of itself, had its own thoughts and wishes, ambitions, that had feelings, can love and suffer. I think you might be looking a little bit too much into this. As if our relationship, the screen, wasn't an instrument. It was me who was a lifeless piece of plastic and text-to-light. There's some truth in that. Probably because the computer provides 90% of my communication with the outside world. Oh, okay. What are you, an otaku? I said this wasn't a Japanese RPG, Japanese VN, but it might be. I just know it has, like, a Russian setting at the very least. And I know there's, like, Russian text options. So I might have been making an assumption there. I'm not gonna make any more assumptions on that. Anonymous image board, some chats from time to time, rarely ICQ or Jabber, and forums even more rarely. People on the other end of the internet cable simply do not exist. All of them are simply creations of its sick imagination, an error in the source code or a kernel bug which started living a life of its own. That would be really trippy. If your computer just started like trolling you and pretending there's like people on the internet talking to you, but none of them were real. If one looked at my existence from the outside, such thoughts would seem crazy, and a psychologist would surely give me a bunch of sophisticated diagnoses and maybe write me a doctor's referral to a loony bin. Yeah, I gotta be honest, man, you seem you seem a little crazy. Let's just go with that. A small apartment with no signs of repair or any semblance of order to it, and always the same view out of my window on the grey megalopolis, running somewhere day and night. Such are the conditions of my life. Okay, so you live in a city. Good to know. Well, of course, didn't all start like this. I was born, went to school, and finished it like all others. I was accepted at a university where I spent a year and a half trailing behind and struggling. I drifted through several jobs. Sometimes it was working out quite well. Sometimes I was even getting decent money for it. But it all felt like it was not mine, as if taken from another man's biography. I wasn't living life to its fullest. It was looping over and over in monotonous circles. Like the movie Groundhog Day. It's just that I had no choice in how to spend my day, and every day repeated itself in the same vicious spiral. A spiral of emptiness, misery, and despair. Despair! No, Monokuma, get out of this game. For the last few years, I just sat in front of the screen all day. Sometimes there was menial jobs. Sometimes my parents helped me. All in all, I was able to provide for myself. No wonder really, since my needs are quite minor. I hardly ever leave my home, and my communication with other people almost exclusively consists of online correspondence with the anonymous, who have no real name, no gender, no age. So in brief, a quite typical life of a quite typical antisocial person of his time. King of the Donnie Darko on a minor scale, without doomsday-related visions. Maybe some highly respected author, if that was... I don't know if that's like a British spelling, but that's spelled incorrectly to me, will write a novel about me, and it will become a contemporary classic of modern literature. Or maybe I'll write one myself. However, what's the point of fooling myself? I've tried many times, and I couldn't even come up with a simple short story. I tried to learn many other things as well. Not gifted enough to draw, programming got bored, foreign languages takes too much time. The only thing I loved doing was reading, but I still never called myself a scholar. Perhaps I was an ace at watching anime, and a grandmaster at lame internet jokes. Okay. Sort of getting into the sort of pathetic territory here, but okay. If I were getting paid for it, I'd probably be a happier person, and a richer person too, but I doubt it would fill the hole inside me. Today was another typical day of a typical failures, typical life. And today is the day when I have to go to my university reunion. Frankly speaking, I really didn't want to. What is the point? The time I spent with them was so short. However, I was persuaded by a friend, my former university mate, and one of the few with whom I kept in touch, other than through the internet. This is a really interesting way of showing the action of what's going on. Almost like comic book panels. Is that me? Oh, is that me, oh my. Yeah, he definitely looks Russian. A frosty evening. Bus stop, waiting. I never liked winter. Though hot summer is not my season either. It's just that I see no reason to point out any particular time of the year. It doesn't matter much what the weather is outside when you stay at home 24/7. Bus today was running so late that I was about to curse it and spend my last few hundred rubles for a taxi. The idea of returning home didn't cross my mind for some reason, so yes, this is very much Russia. As usual, millions of thoughts flew through my mind, but there's not a single useful one to seize on. Such a thought that you could bring into existence, give a shape, turn into an idea, and put into practice. Maybe I could start my own business, but Where would I get the money from? Or maybe I could go back to working in an office. Oh, no way. Maybe I should try freelancing. What skills do I have and who would want me after all? I don't know. You see, there's a point where if you're just like, no, I'm just bored. It's like, if I'm too bored to just go do a job. There's somewhere in life where you went in a wrong direction, where you're not even willing to do a job to get paid. Like a basic job. And there's something about that. It's like, oh, I could go do this. I have options, but no, I just don't want to. That just seems so very, I don't know, entitled to a sense. There's probably more to it, but I suddenly remembered my childhood, or rather, my teen years, the time when I was 15 to 17 years old. Why exactly those years? No idea. But I guess it's because back then, everything was much more simple. It was easier to make decisions, so complicated now, so simple then. Waking up in the morning, I knew exactly how my day was going to pass, and I always eagerly looked forward to the weekend. Then I could get some rest and have time for things I liked: computer, football, going out with friends. I assumed soccer, since it's Russia. And then, at the beginning of the next week, I take up my studies again. Back then, there was no such worrying to questions as to, like, why, who needs it, what will change if I do it, or what will not change. A simple lifestyle, so casual for any normal person, and so odd to myself today. The careless childhood age. It was also then that I met my first love. Her appearance and personality have vanished from my memory. Only her name remains, like a brief line from a social network profile, along with the feelings which overwhelmed me when I was with her. Affection, tenderness, the desire to care for her and protect her. Sadly, it didn't last long. Today, I can hardly imagine something like that happening. I'd probably like to meet a girl, but I don't know how to start a conversation, what on earth to discuss, or how to attract her. Well, I haven't met any suitable girls for a long time. But where could I meet one anyways? In my apartment? Being inside 24/7? That's probably not the best way to do it, at the very least. The sound of an engine brought me back to reality. A bus pulled over. There was something abnormal about it, I thought. Then again, it doesn't really matter. Only the 410 runs this route. And it does say 410 on it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. If you think this is abnormal, then something bad's about to happen. Oh. That is such a fire. Streetlights pass me by as if their cold lights spark inside of me, trying to reignite feelings long dead. Or maybe not ignite, just awaken them. Because those feelings haven't been living in me for a long time, slumbering and waking up again. The driver's radio was playing some very familiar tune, but I wasn't listening to it. I was watching the cars passing through the fogged-up window, because people are always rushing somewhere, chasing something they need, stuck in their own little worlds. Why would they care about mine? They probably have their own serious problems, or maybe they have much easier lives. You can't know for sure, since all people are different. Or are they? Sometimes someone's actions can be easily predicted, but if you try to look inside his soul, you only see impenetrable darkness. The bus was approaching downtown. My thoughts were interrupted by the bright city lights. Hundreds of billboards, thousands of cars, millions of people. I watched the slideshow, and somehow I got terribly sleepy. My eyes closed for just a moment, and then... did the come back to the dream? Okay, I knew the art style in this, like, for the actual characters wasn't amazing. I think the backgrounds are all great, mind you. I have thought that the background in general art style for the stuff up till now, and that opening, has all been very good. I know the character ones aren't amazing. And, there was a lot of fan service in that opening. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of fan service driven visual novels, so I guess we'll find out exactly how, the opening was like so sort of dark and stuff that was like a big contrast to what the opening was like, seeing that stuff. It's weird. But okay, hopefully isn't too heavily on that. Okay, moving on. Bright daylight struck my eyes. First I didn't pay attention as I wasn't fully awake yet. On their own, my legs carried me towards the door. Damn, looks like I fell asleep and missed my stop. But there was no door. Oh, am I Semyon? Am I Semyon? I might be Semyon. I looked around the bus and realized it wasn't a good, old, worn-out Liaz. Instead, the bus was an Icarus model, a new one. I froze in shock. How? What? Am I dead? Have I been kidnapped? No. I must be dead. I patted myself down feverishly, slapped myself painfully in the face a few times, banged my forehead on the back of one of the bus seats. It's clear, either I'm still alive, or you can still feel pain when you're dead. But how could this happen? Maybe I slept for too long and ended up in the bus depot. And then what? Did they just put me onto another bus? I rushed out and took a look around. Greenery wherever I looked. Tall grass on the roadside, trees, flowers. Summer. But how? It was just winter a moment ago. My head was aching unbearably. My head was as if it was going to explode. Slowly, I began to remember. Something happened. A long road running off into the distance. Forest, plains, fields, lakes, and forest again. I think I was sleeping, but then how can I remember all of it? And then, a gap. Some girl leaning over me. She softly whispered something into my ear. Then a gap again. And then I woke up here. Who was that strange girl? Or was she just a dream? For some reason, thinking about her made me feel better and calmed me down a little. I felt warmth all over coming from inside. Oh, well, that says a bit. So is this just like... Is he dreaming? Just like... Did he just like fall asleep on the bus and like he's dreaming this all? That's my first guess as to what's happening, but... Because he's remembering things, presumably from his previous dreams he was ranting on about earlier. Could it be her who brought me here? Then I need to find her. And the best place to look for her is away from here. I rushed to the left, and then to the right, then stopped, hesitating over where to go. Finally, I ran in the direction from which the bus had probably came. Physical exercise does refresh one's mind. Thoughts became clearer, and it gets a little easier to evaluate the surrounding reality. Not in my case, however. I was sitting on the roadside, wheezing, trying to ease my sore throat by gulping breaths of hot air. In any case, the run did its job. The fear withdrew for a while. Maybe I really am just dreaming. Though recalling my self-harm on the bus, I immediately rejected the idea. I am neither dreaming nor dead. A narrow road ran through the field and far into the distance. I think he's pretty quick to dismiss the whole dreaming part. That seems pretty likely at this point. I don't get how the whole self-harm thing really would change that possibility. A narrow road ran through the field and far into the distance. The exact same road from my dream. Yes, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. I must be very far away from home. And it's not just that it was winter yesterday and it's summer now. It's the whole environment. Of course, summer is usually like this, green and hot, but everything is not entirely lifelike. Everything looks like it was taken from the paintings of a Russian landscape of the 19th century. The grass is just too lush. The bushes are not what bushes should be. They are so thick that you can't see anything through them, like treetops, honestly. And trees themselves. The forest was quite far away, but the trees looked as though they have closed their ranks, and were now just waiting for the order to advance onto the fields and plains. I caught my breath and looked at the bus, which was now barely visible. That was a good run. Fear overtook me once again. The power lines. Oh, there must be people here. What does that mean? In fact, that means nothing at all. Could they have power lines even in hell? Well, technically, power lines are only really there in order to power something. It doesn't really matter if it's hell or not. If you follow the power lines, you'll eventually find something that is basically civilization. Then again, if you go back to where the bus was, chances of finding civilization are probably much more likely, because what are the chances the bus stopped at somewhere just like in the middle of nowhere in the first place? Roasting sinners over hot coals. That's so last century. I must have reached the point of no return, after which you should either lose your mind completely or finally try to understand what is going on. And while I still have a choice, I should pick the second option. Oh, wait, can I pick the first option? Will it come up and let me pick the first option? No. I slowly headed back to the bus. Of course it was scary. But now, I'm not likely to find an answer in the field or the woods, and this wretched bucket of bolts is the only kind of link that I have with the real world. The gate. Ooh, that same gate. I should carefully scout the area. Semyon meets owlet. What? What? Oh, means owlet. Owlet. Oh, okay. I read that wrong. A brick wall and its gates crowned with the Sovyonok sign. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not Russian. Statues of pioneers standing on either side, and a road sign nearby showing the bus route number 410. The trip's taking a bit too long today. I smirked. A person may start acting inappropriately in extreme situations. Something like that is probably happening to me now. The place didn't look abandoned at all. No rust in the gates, no damage to the walls. Sovyonok. What could have a name like that? Judging by the pioneer statues, it could be a kid's summer camp. Moreover, it appears to be open. Of course, the simplest explanation, logically speaking, explains nothing at all. The strange girl, the altered bust, summer, pioneer camp. Thousands of theories went through my mind instantly, from alien abduction to lethargic sleep, from hallucination to a time-space shift. None was worse than any other, but there was really no way to pick a single one. Then it occurred to me, I can try to make a phone call. I took out my cell phone and the first number from my contact list. You have a contact list, right, guy? Antisocial and everything. But instead of a signal strength bars, the screen was showing a thick cross. Alright. There may be no such signal in such a remote place, though I cannot be the only one who came here. Buses don't drive themselves. I examined the bus from all sides to make sure it wasn't hallucination. Bits of dirt on the bottom, some rust here and there, faded paint and worn out tires. No, this is definitely a very ordinary Icarus. You really know your buses, don't you? Yeah, exactly the kind of bus which takes you to places beyond your understanding, if you carelessly fall asleep. I gave a nervous chuckle. It came out by itself, sporadically, because this wasn't the right place or time to laugh. But where on earth is the driver? I cautiously sat down on the curb besides the bus and started to wait. Is that how you spell curb in British? Because I've noticed generally it's been British slang, like color was spelled with a U and stuff. I don't know. My patience didn't last long, of course. My anxiety seems to have reached its peak, and I started to go slightly mad. In such a situation, anyone would have probably felt something similar. Aliens and parallel universes were gone from my imagination, leaving only voids and darknesses. Is this how everything will end? Is this how my life will end? But I wanted to do so much. There were so many things that I had no time for yet. I was overwhelmed by the idea. It was definitely the end. But why? It's not fair. Surely I'm no worse than anyone else. God, why? Tears were burning my eyes unbearably. I curled up and started rolling in the grass. Why? What did I do? Why me? But my cries were only heard by the speechless statues of the pioneers and a bird on the tree, which immediately flapped its wings and took off, crying out something in its own bird language, as if laughing at the idiot who dared to interrupt its after-dinner nap. I was left breathless from weeping and just lay quietly, sobbing occasionally. After a while, I managed to pull myself together. My mind cleared up a bit, as if terror and the fear of death gave me a little break. All in all, if someone wanted to kill me, what is all this for? It doesn't look like an experiment either. If there's just some crazy coincidence, then there's probably no threat. Anyways, it seems as though there's no danger for now. The panic was soon gone. Of course, the blood was still pounding in my temples, and my hands were still shaking, but at least I could think clearly now. Right now, there's nothing I can really change anyway, so no matter how much I think or how mad I get, it would only make things worse. Until some actual facts appear, there's really no point in making guesses. In any case, I won't learn anything by lounging around here. The camp, of course, if it really is a camp, looked like the only place where people could be, so I decided to go there. And hardly had I reached the gates when a girl came out from behind them, and she had heard me crying, and she's heard all my screams of "Why me?" and she was just looking at me like I was a crazy person, probably. Hello there, wearing a pioneer uniform. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and guess that in Russia, pioneers means like a Boy Scout, Girl Scout style thing. I don't know that for sure, but I think it's a fair assumption at this point. My logic didn't let me down this time. Then again, a pioneer uniform in the 21st century. And then again, a girl here. Okay, maybe it's not that. Maybe it's something, I have no idea. What the hell is a pioneer? And then again, a girl here. I froze, unable to take a step. I felt very much like running away. Running as far as I could from this place, far from the bust gate statues and far from this bloody bird with its siesta. Just running, free like the wind, faster and faster, waving to the planets passing by, winking at the galaxies, running, becoming a pulsar ray, turning into vestigial radiation, running to face the unknown. God damn it! Can you just collect your thoughts and talk to her, man? You're going on these rants constantly. Run no matter where, as long as it's far away from this place. Meanwhile, the girl came closer and smiled. I could not help but notice her beauty, even though I was trembling with fear. Human instincts work independent of consciousness, while only 5% of the brain is responsible for cognitive processes. The remaining 95% are always busy sustaining life, and in particular, ensuring stable functioning of the hormonal system. I desperately wanted to get less complicated and stop thinking in formal quotes from an encyclopedia, though my thoughts appeared one by one, being stupid, out of place, as if taken from an internal monologue of the hero of some junky soft-cover crime fiction book. Yeah, I figured that out already, man. A pretty Slavic face, long braids that looked like 2 armfuls of fresh hay, and blue eyes you could drown in. Hi, you must have just arrived? Okay, I'm gonna force him to reply. You have to reply, man. Yeah. Alright then, welcome. She smiled broadly. Strange, it looked as if I had just a normal girl in front of me. I shouldn't have returned here. The woods and fields seem better. But what shall I do next? Try to speak with her as if she was a human, or run away, or what? The blood was pumping unbearably in my head, tearing it apart from the inside a little bit more, and the poor pioneer girl would be splattered with the gruesome contents of my skull. What's so funny about that? The girl looked me over. It sent shivers down my spine, and my knees started to tremble. Nothing. Great then. Great? What's so great about that? Suddenly, a thought crossed my mind. To hell with it all. Forget about the bus behind me, the fact that it was winter yesterday and summer today. I wanted to rip off my itchy sweater and just accept that this is actually happening. Everything is as it should be. All this is all for the best. Would you happen to know? You should go to our camp leader. She'll tell you everything. Look. You should go straight ahead to the square and turn left. You'll see several small cabins. She pointed at the gates as if I knew what was behind them. Mitrievna is a patronymic, a derivative of a person's father's name, in this case, Dmitri, I think, put by Russians after the person's first name as a sign of respect or formal address. So it's sort of like san and stuff from Japanese, or Mr. from English. Well, you can ask where Olga the cabin is. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna be bad with names, aren't I? Got it? Of course I did not. Well, I've got to go now. The girl waved her hand at me and disappeared through the gates. It seemed as if to her I was something ordinary. And all this show with the bus and the travels while awake and sleep were only troubling to me, while everything here was just the way it was supposed to be. Camp leader, pioneer uniform. What are they, doing a historical reenactment here? Okay, so clearly it's some historical thing that's no longer around. Maybe it was a Soviet thing. I hope I won't find Lenin standing atop an armored car in the sky. Oh, you know what? Maybe it was a Soviet thing. I wouldn't mind meeting Lenin. I wouldn't mind meeting Lenin in a visual novel, though. That would be really interesting. But even that would not surprise me right now. After standing alone for a while, I headed into the camp. A mere 50 meters ahead, a small one-story house popped onto the left side. A sign near the door said clubs. Looks really worn out all about, though. I was about to come closer when the door suddenly opened, and a short girl wearing a pioneer uniform came out. Her pretty face gave me the impression of one suffering for the fate of the whole mankind with a truly universal sorrow. And then she got all surprised. As soon as she saw me, the girl froze, as if frightened. I froze too, considering what was the best to do, to approach first or wait until she showed some initiative. Or maybe run away after all. Although this last option was constantly being suggested only by my self-preservation instinct. At least I think that's what I'd like to believe. Not the worst human instinct, but far from the most logical. If this instinct played poker against deductive abilities, the outcome would be predetermined. And those deductive abilities, or at least their semblance, were hinting to me that there was no need to be afraid of this girl. Nor this one with the Soviet shirt. My goodness, CCCP. Oh my goodness, this is so Soviet. This is such a weird combination of anime and Soviet Union. Suddenly somebody jumped out of the bushes. A girl wearing a bright red t-shirt with USSR written on it. Such a perfect reproduction of the age. She looked quite short from a distance and was probably younger than both pioneer girls. The one at the gate and this girl at the door of the clubs. At last I decided to come closer, but the USSR girl, as I called her in my mind, jumped towards the first girl and started telling her something while wildly waving her arms. The other girl, in turn, seemed confused and lowered her gaze, remaining silent. I would have probably continued to observe their amusing dialogue, but the USSR suddenly pulled something out of her pocket and started waving in front of the other girl's face. A bug? That something turned out to be a grasshopper. I'm not gonna scream. The first girl squealed. She must have been not too keen on insects, as she instantly rushed off towards the place where Lenin presumably made his speech about the workers' and peasants' revolution. That is to say, towards the square. The USSR glanced at me, grinned playfully, and dashed after her. Not a bad start to the day. I have absolutely no clue where I am besides that, but there are some kids here role-playing as pioneers. And as far as I can tell, this place is located thousands of kilometers away from home. Might even be a different reality. And this was indeed a reality. I mean, everything around me seemed so real, if a little embellished, that I was starting to think that, in fact, my previous life could have been just a dream. What am I supposed to do now? I was picking at the cracked paving stones with my shoe and stared aimlessly at the club's building. Just a few more seconds before I had to come up with a decision. That's when I recalled myself rolling on the grass, weeping. I cringed in disgust. Perhaps it's another instinct. When all energy and whimpering and self-pitying is used up, the body goes either into hibernation or mobilizes its reserves. Mine seemed to have chosen the second option, because out of the blue I found the determination to figure out what was going on. In order to do that, I had to act like a man, like a human, to maintain the dignity of a representative of my own world. I followed the path to the left on the right side, which stood small cabins, apparently homes to local pioneers. Actually, it looked quite cozy from the outside. Even though I was born in the Soviet Union, I've never been part of its children's organizations, neither the pioneers nor the younger October children. I imagined the daily life of a typical pioneer camp a bit differently. Huge barracks with long rows of metal bunks, wake-up call at 6 o'clock played by a siren 1 minute to make your bed, and then joining formation at the drill square. Or wait, could I be confusing it with something else? Suddenly something struck me on the back. I staggered but remained on my feet, turned around and prepared to fight heroically for my life. What did I do? I didn't do anything. I can promise you, I didn't do anything. But all I found was another girl standing before me. My mouth was hung open in surprise. Pick your jaw up off the ground. I closed my mouth. The same pioneer uniform, but she was wearing it, well, let's say it looked provocative. Like all the girls I had met before, this one was rather cute, but her overly arrogant expression killed any desire to get to know her better. Oh, she's a tsundere. Oh, we're gonna get tsunderes in Russia. New here, are you? Fine, see ya. She threw a threatening glance at me and walked past. I waited for the pioneer girl to turn the corner. Who knows what else she might have been up to. The most interesting thing was that even the hostile girl seemed completely normal to me. She didn't give off the feeling of some deadly danger. Except maybe the danger of getting punched in the nose. At last I managed to make it to the square. There's no Lenin or on an armored car, though one could easily expect something like that after all this had happened. Instead, however, a monument to a certain comrade towered in the middle of the square. The letters on its pedestal read Genda. Must be some big figure in the party. There's some small benches at the sides. It's quite pleasant here. Where did that girl tell me to go? To the left or to the right? To the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. Why am I going there? Oh, I don't remember. Why am I going there anyways? Ah, right. I decided to pretend to be normal. So, to the right. Through a small grove, I came out at a pier. I must have taken a wrong turn. Hey, wrong way! I turned towards the voice. Oh. Hi. The first girl stood before me. Now, what did I tell you? Take a left at the square, wasn't it? She had changed from her pioneer uniform into a bikini. Oh, I still haven't introduced myself. My name is Slavia. Actually, my full name's Slavanya, or something, but everyone calls me Slavia. So, you can too. Yeah? I still felt a bit confused, so I could not come up with a more meaningful answer. And what's your name? I felt like she could see right through me. Oh, yeah, Semyon. Nice to meet you, Semyon. Alright, I'm almost done here. Could you wait here a minute? I'm going to go change, and we'll go to Olga Dmitrievna together. Agreed? Agreed. After this exchange, she ran off, and I sat on the pier and let my feet hang in the water. I was wearing heavy winter boots, but in such weather, there's nothing wrong with getting my feet wet. Furthermore, it let me cool myself a little. Looking at the river, I was brainstorming, processing everything that was happening. This is some kind of conspiracy. It's a weird one, even too friendly at times. No, really it's more like a random event. It's an entirely incomprehensible random event. Shall we go? Slavia was standing beside me, dressed in the pioneer uniform. Let's go? I've been here for a very short time, but of all the people I've met, she looked the least suspicious. However, this fact was already suspicious itself. We walked to the square. The USSR girl and the girl who hit me on the back were chasing each other. Is that some kind of game they're playing? Yana, enough running! I'm going to tell everything to Olga. I'm just gonna call her Olga, if she keeps saying the full name like that. Aye, Captain? I decided not to question Slavia for a while about what was going on or the local residents. Better meet with this mysterious Olga first. Sounds like she's the boss here. We walk past the rows of almost identical cabins, some of which look like fat beer barrels, where others look more like household sheds. Finally, Slavia stopped in front of a small one-story cabin. Looked like an artist painting. The faded paint, the chipping here and there with the age, sparkling in the sun, the window shutters slightly ajar, were swaying almost unnoticeably in the wind, and a huge lilac bushes were growing at the sides. As if this ramshackle hut was drowning in a storm of purple silk, and the lilacs, like some elemental force, were inexorably destroying the troop leader's house. What are you standing around for? Let's go. Slavia snapped me out of my daydreaming. And stop teasing Lena already. Oh god. Rena? Rena? Okay. I think this is probably a good place to stop for the day, as we're about to die. And I think that's a Higurashi reference. Oh god, I'm probably not gonna die. But see you all next time. Drive safely.